24 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Everything about our next guest's bio makes me so interested in speaking to him. He is Tito Abao. I hope I'm saying his last name correctly. He'll correct me in a second. He is a certified spiritual guide. Okay, right away I want to talk to him. He has had a near-death experience. It was in 2007. Oh my gosh. Every time I've had a guest on that had a near-death experience, I didn't find out about the near-death experience until like 1 minute before we were done. And then it would come up and I would say, oh my God, what did you experience? Sorry, out of time. Right? So yes. I don't want to have a near end of the show experience. I want to hear about that because I'm so fascinated with this. I believe that there's life after death and people who've had a peek at it always fascinate me. He's a researcher. He's a spiritual leader, inspirational leader. He's asking this question: is America a good spiritual example for the rest of the world? Can't wait to hear his thoughts on that. Also, how the law of attraction and other spiritual measurements are more reliable guides to identify global problems and how the challenges should be addressed. And I've often thought this about individual problems. I've often thought that when and you see this in people. You see people who are always negative, and all negative stuff happens to them. And they're all, and people who are positive and all positive. Well, not all, but maybe 80-90% of the things seem to be that way.
Right.
Even somebody who's negative has a negative thing happen, or a positive thing happen rather, and they're negative about it.
Exactly.
And I don't like the expression, "Oh, it'd be my luck," and it's a negative thing. It'd be my luck, I'd lose the lottery. It'd be my luck, I'd fall off a cliff. I don't want to go to the Grand Canyon. It'd be my luck, I'd fall off a cliff. See, that's the law of attraction. You might cause yourself to fall off. Tito, good morning, Tito.
Hi, I hope I can live up to that introduction.
Well, thank you for being on. How do you pronounce your last name?
Oh, you did it right, Abao, yeah.
Abao, okay. Well, thank you for being on the air with us. Can I ask about the near-death thing first? What happened?
Sure. What happened is that on the night of January 19th, I went to sleep, and then I realized I was dying. I was leaving my body, and while I was doing that, I noticed a whole bunch of people working on me.
Real people or spiritual people?
Well, they looked like normal people, but I only recognized two, my brother and my own private spiritual teacher was there. They were working quite diligently on me, but I was still leaving my body. By the way, dying is very euphoric. It's a lovely thing.
Wow.
I'd like your audience to know that you feel incredibly euphoric.
But why were you dying? I mean, were you having a heart attack? Was there something physically?
I'll go into it. I didn't know any of these things until about 2 or 3 years later, but these beings were working on me, and this voice said, "Please don't die." And of course, I didn't.
Well, who was the voice?
Well, I hate to say, but what I mean, I think I know it's the higher self. For some reason, it wanted me alive and in this world, so I didn't die. But what happened was, it turns out about 2 years later, I found out I had 3 abdominal aortic aneurysms. There was one in each branch out of the main aorta and one in the aorta. And the 2 on the branches were very large, and the doctor thought he didn't know why I was still alive.
But you found out about it 3 years later? So you lived for three?
I didn't. Well, the thing is, I don't know if your audience is going to be able to relate to this, but those people that were working on me had repaired it on the astral plane.
That's what I thought you were saying.
Yeah. Nothing happens in the physical plane that hasn't already been taken care of on the astral plane. It's just being worked out in the third dimension. Does
that include earthly things like money and car repairs?
Yeah. Everything. It's all of these things you have these astral postulates going on, and they start working themselves out. And then what happens is they drop into and solidify in the third dimension.
Can I ask you, I don't know if this is easy to answer, but how do you know that? How do you know it rather than just speculate it?
Well, a whole series of seminars at the Monroe Institute in Virginia, Esalen seminars in Big Sur, California. Then I spent many, many hours in regression work in the Weiss and Newton practitioners.
So I have a question, and it's kind of a theory of mine, but I want to hear your thoughts on this. When we're children, we pretend to do things that we actually do later on in life when we're adults. The word pretend or the words make believe, both like pretend, I'm pre-doing it, and therefore I'm going to do it. I'm making believe that it's going to happen, and therefore it does happen. Is that continue throughout our whole lives? Could I, because I'm 60, could I right now pretend or make believe that I was, let's say, something that I've never done, like maybe flying to the moon or something? I don't know. I mean, could I actually make things like that happen by believing in it?
Absolutely. That's the way it works. You see, one of the problems we have that I discovered, I mean, I didn't really know about this stuff until I was getting into it deeply. But I had a program, I got programmed by my uncle when I was a kid. And
what do you mean?
Well, I'm going to explain. It's something like what you were just talking about. Well, what happened is I'd want something, and I'd see myself having it, and I'd be dancing around and counting, doing all these things like I had it. And my uncle said, "Don't cut chickens before they hatch." So he set that program into my mind, and so my whole life I couldn't materialize things.
Oh, I gotcha. So the negative.
That's how you materialize things. You dream about it and see it happening and live it, and on the astral plane, it's the form's there, and then it starts to enter and become solid in the third dimension. That's how it works. And when my uncle stopped that, I had a hard time creating things in the physical plane.
Wow. You know, I heard a story about a businessman during the Great Depression, and he had I want to say a hot dog stand. I don't remember what it was. But when it was all done and people were saying, "Hey, the Depression is over. Aren't you so happy?" He said, I don't remember having a problem. He said that his thought was the fact that he didn't hear that the whole world was falling apart made him not realize it, and he did fine.
That's the way it works. Thought controls everything. And but in our society, we're not trained to understand this, and it's a very small subculture that does understand it. And I'm trying to get out there because I think that it's very important at this particular point in time to move out of the subconscious application of the preamble to the Constitution and move into a conscious understanding of how the law of attraction works.
Okay, explain that. Explain what you mean.
Yeah, about that Jefferson, when he said or wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Well, that's the formula for the constructive use of the law of attraction.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And people who read this become empowered, because if you believe it, and then you try to pursue happiness. I mean, you take a look at all these people like the Hewlett Packard. They start in their garage with a dream, right? And what happens is you have this huge company today.
Okay, but if I had a dream back in the founding fathers' time that I have a God-given right to pursue happiness, and my version of happiness would be to have a big plantation and to be growing cotton. And in order to do this, I have to have lots of people who work for me who really don't have a way of pursuing their happiness because they're slaves. I mean, yeah, my happiness is being pursued, but I'm preventing other people from pursuing theirs, even though it was legal at the time.
Well, the law of attraction gets a little bit complicated because we're involved in a world that has a karmic pattern working itself out.
Okay, meaning we're paying for the past mistakes?
Well, what the Dharma is defined as that which is projected as a collective movement in time and space and experiences. And the karma is the individual reaction that you have from past actions that you've taken. But the interesting thing is that this preamble puts you in the state of thought And when you're in a state of thought, you can override all those things. Now, I'm saying here that this law is a constructive use of the law of attraction. So I'm suggesting that people who actually follow this principle, because you say all men are created equal.
Yeah, right.
I can't imagine that somebody who would subscribe to this would actually want to enslave anyone.
No, and I think you're right. I would hope so. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't account for how these things work out because, in the overall picture of things, karma and dharma are going to work themselves out. Well, what I'm saying to people is that none of that actually has to happen. Because once you understand how the law of attraction works and that thought actually creates the future, then you're in an entirely different place. You're kind of in the driver's seat.
Well, I have a thought. Everything I'm looking at was originally a thought. But it wasn't thought alone that created the microphone I'm talking into. Somebody had this thought to create this tube that on the end of it there was a vibrating piece of plastic or whatever's in this thing, and that's how you can hear me. But there had to be a physical hands-on. I had to get the metal. I had to get the wire. I had to get everything, right?
Yeah, well, this is why, I mean, actually you're going into something that's a little bit advanced from what I was going to talk about or wanted to talk about. But anyway, I can talk to you about that because I have a process that people can use to run their lives in a way that will be satisfying to them. And it's the pen, pencil, and the 4 books. One book is your bliss book. The other book is your synchronicity book. The other book is your resistance book, and then you have an overall diary. Now, what you're talking about there is that as a human being in the 3rd dimension, you're very limited. So you have to understand how to proceed, because what you're doing is like you're driving a car. When you get in your car and you turn the engine on, you don't necessarily know how that engine is turning on or what's causing it to turn on. All you know how to do is turn the key, turn the engine on, and then drive off.
Yeah, that is all I know.
Yeah, me too.
So most people, in order to have a life that will be satisfying, and then this goes back to Joseph Campbell. I don't know if you know the name Joseph Campbell, but he was a famous philosopher that used to do a lot of specials on PBS. And then, by the way, Joseph Campbell was the spiritual guide to George Lucas in the creation of Star Wars.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, his statement was, follow your bliss. George Lucas, for artistic and propelling the story along, he said, Luke, trust the Force.
Yeah.
So what he was doing was just following Joseph Campbell's concept of following your bliss.
Well, and in the same way, isn't it true that could also be referred to as God or Lord?
It doesn't matter how you look at it; it all works the same way.
Well,
I don't oppose my idea of higher self.
So when we say prayers, if somebody says how does prayer work, my simplistic answer, and I don't profess to know anything about this stuff, but my simplistic answer was, well, God hears your prayer and He answers it one way or another. I mean, maybe it's a no, but it's still an answer.
Yeah, but let me finish this other thought. What happens when you follow your bliss is that you allow the universe to create a matrix around you and materialize your goal. You, as an individual, have no idea how this stuff is going to come together. You just have to trust.
Yeah.
When you have something that you actually want and that will make you happy, and you have this pipeline into the higher self will find a way to bring it to you, because the universe is actually your friend. But you will never figure out how this all happens. All you have to do is just drive the car.
I actually think you're right. I think that is exactly right. I do.
can this be on a grand scale? I mean, we're so involved with politics. Half the country is divided between Democrat and Republican. Then you've got the independents, and then you've got the terrorists, sieging across the entire world. How can all of this positiveness help combat all those differences?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I would like people to go out to my website at www.saveearthplanet.com and sign my petition that's asking Oprah Winfrey to contact me. Because in 2008, she brought Eckhart Tolle on for a 10-week seminar, and they reached pretty much between 1 million and 3 million people. But when Success Magazine did a follow-up, asking people how they related to it, they said they loved what they heard, but they didn't know how to incorporate it into their lives. But I know how to do this, and I'd like to find out if Oprah Winfrey would like to set up a way to get this out there, because what people have to know in the United States or around the world is how the law of attraction works. And once we do that, then what's going to happen, if people start applying this, you will raise in consciousness. Now, for people who want to understand raising their consciousness, go out to the internet and look up David Hawkins' Map of Consciousness. And you'll see on there, as you climb that ladder of consciousness, all those lower levels, fear, grief, apathy, murder, and all that mayhem stuff, it drops away. And, of course, you have to kind of really put on a different perspective because we're not trained to believe this. We don't think, or we don't know, that if we want to get rid of violence, we just have to increase our consciousness to a higher state, and the violence will happen someplace else, but not to you.
Oh my gosh!
On a worldwide scale, I think if we could reach the 3 million people in her audience and train and show them how to do this, and I have several processes for working. One of them is the 4 books, because Oh, you want me to stop there?
No. I just want to tell you something. That I just signed your petition. And,
thank you.
And I put I'm signing this because these truths need to be understood or something. I don't even know what I wrote there.
In other words, we've got to try to get 300 million Americans to understand at least that there is a law of attraction and how it works if they're more interested. Because this is something you cannot browbeat people into.
Well, when I watched the movie The Secret, and we've spoken to quite a few people actually that are in the movie, the one issue that I had with it, I believe that what The Secret is talking about is accurate. I don't think it's not accurate, but I think they're leaving out God. I think there is an intelligent personality. We call him God. You might call him something else, but somebody might call it nature. But I believe there's an intelligence that we tap into when we use the law of attraction, that it's not simply us, or maybe it is, but it's a bigger part of us.
That's what I'm saying about the preamble. It's showing you how to get a lifeline into the higher self.
You're fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Do you have a book? I went to the website and I signed your petition.
Great, I appreciate that.
And it's what is the website again?
It's www.saveearthplanet.com. I couldn't get planet Earth, so I had to get
SaveEarthPlanet.com. Okay, and then what it does is it directs you to change.org is what it does.
Well, it will. It will when you hit the petition, sign my petition thing. It'll take you there because that's what I'm using.
Where are you? Are you in Chicago? Oh no, that's where Oprah is.
I'm in Barstow, California.
All right, so let's say our bliss would be to have an audience the size of Oprah's. I mean,
well, all you have to do is dream it.
Well, we've been dreaming it.
That's why I have the 4 books.
But see, maybe, is it possible that this is also the case, Tito? If I want that, maybe that's not what God wants. Maybe God wants Robin and I to be right here, right where we are, with this small community, with this small audience compared to Oprah anyway, because maybe we're serving some kind of a purpose here.
Well, sure, but I want to point out to you that's the reason why I have the Book of Resistances. Because the only reason you don't have what you want is because it's some part of yourself doesn't want it.
Maybe.
So what I
that
want
could
people
be.
to do is when they take a look at the thing that's going to make them happy, then they go to the resistance book and list why they're not wanting it, and work their way through that to unravel the energy. See, all this stuff is held together by energy fields, and you are controlled by shadows and conditioning.
Tito, can you give? We only have like 3 minutes left. Can you tell us something that you've wanted that you used this theory for, and how it came to manifest itself?
Well, I'm talking to you, aren't I? I'm talking to people in 10 major markets around the country, and I only have a Social Security check.
Okay.
So
And I might just get a call from Oprah Winfrey.
Well, you probably will. No, my guess is you probably will.
So I have had this postulate in my list for almost a year and a half.
So you're going to tell Oprah Winfrey's audience how this works. Can you tell our audience?
Yeah, but we don't have enough time. It's a whole series of processes.
Oh, I see. You need to be on for a lot of time.
It's 4 books. All you need is a pencil and 4 books.
Is it explained on your website?
No, I don't explain that on my website.
Can we?
I mean, I'm just getting started. I just started this website this year, or in 2014.
But do you
About 2
have
months.
do you have the 4 books available in the bookstore?
Well, no, they're not.
They're blank books.
Journals.
Oh, they're journals.
They're notebooks.
Okay, now I got it. Sorry.
One you put in your list of what you want.
Okay.
The second is a synchronicity book where, as you walk through your... See, what I don't want people to do is to go flying out and going into a cave, dropping out of their jobs, and all that stuff, because they heard what I had to say about thoughts. What I want you to do is to let the universe build this matrix around you. And the way you do it is with these 4 books. Now, the synchronicity book is going to, as you're walking through your life, you're going to see things relating to your list that you never saw before.
Oh,
And that's
okay.
the sign that the universe is working on this.
Oh, that happens to be all the time.
Right. Now, the book of resistance is when you have your postulate out there, then you start looking at, well, why wouldn't I want this thing? And you're going to, the real crazy thing about it is it'll pop up. Like, for example, the thing that caused me to have problems was my uncle. He completely shut off and attenuated my ability to project visions because he told me not to count my chickens before they hatch.
Where is he now?
Well, he's deceased now.
Okay. You didn't see him in your near-death experience, did you?
He wasn't there, no.
Oh,
It was my brother and my spiritual teacher.
Is your brother deceased?
Yeah, he's deceased.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay. Tito, you're fascinating. I really hope, if you get on Oprah, would you tell Oprah that you were on our show so at least she
sure will.
hears our name?
Yes.
I got all this in my record field, so there's not going to be a problem with that.
Tito, thank you for being on the air with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
So I want to leave the audience with the website. It's saveearthplanet.com. Sign Tito's petition to be on the Oprah Winfrey Show, which I just did. And no book to sell, right? Just this chat.
There's books out there, but
I mean, of yours.
But yeah, I have 4 books out there.
Oh, okay. Oh, you do have some books to sell. Now, how do we buy the books? How do we buy your books?
Go to the site and hit bookstore.
Oh, okay. Okay, there's
And the important one out there, which is actually, I didn't know I was writing a prophecy at the time. I thought it was a novel about alternative history, but it's called Seeds of Heaven.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, you have some
Excellent.
illustrations in here too.
Okay.
Well, I really love this conversation. Thank you, Tito.
I appreciate it. I
We
really do.
have to run. All right,
And-
this is WOCA Ocala. We'll be right back.
The Source. Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. Today marks the start of a long march commemorating the 50th anniversary of Bloody Sunday in Selma, Alabama.
It's a symbolic completion of the original journey a half-century ago that was interrupted by violence. It also hopes to highlight many other issues that are still of concern to African Americans, including continuing voting rights battles in several states.
Fox Radio's Grinnell Scott in Tuscaloosa. The march ends Friday at Montgomery, the state capital. Troops from Chad and Niger crossing into Nigeria, taking aim at the terrorist group Boko Haram.
A Nigerian official saying the maneuvers are preemptive. Boko Haram has been battling the Nigerian government for nearly 6 years. The militants have carried out mass kidnappings, including those of schoolgirls.
Fox Radio's Jessica Gallagher. Some bad news at the pump. The average price of regular gas jumped 21 cents a gallon over the past 2 weeks, but that's still 97 cents lower than a year ago. Fox News. We report, you decide.
Superstorms, road closures, flooding, airports snowed in. If you travel for work like I do, news like that can ruin your whole day. It did mine until I discovered Citrix GoToMeeting online meeting software. With GoToMeeting, you can meet from anywhere using your computer, tablet, or smartphone. No expensive travel required. And with HD video, you simply turn on your webcam and it's just like being in the same room, which means you can stay productive no matter what the news brings.
Visit GoToMeeting.com and start our free 30-day trial.
What's the secret to great business trips? Choice Hotels, where you'll find everything a business traveler needs, like a generous rewards program. And right now, choose Choice twice for 2 separate trips and get a night at no price. Stay for business at Choice Hotels and book now at choicehotels.com. Great endings begin here. Free night based on an 8,000-point Choice Privileges Reward Night at over 1,500 hotels. Valid 2/19/15 through 4/22/15. Requires registration and 2 separate qualifying stays. Other terms and conditions apply. Details at choicehotels.com.
It's time for Farm and Ranch headlines on the Southeast AgNet. I'm Tyron Spearman reporting. Farmers are reminded to go by the Farm Service Agency. The deadline is approaching. It has been extended, though, to March 31st. March 31st is now the deadline to go by and update your base, farm base, and yield for the new Farm Bill. March 31st is also the final date to select whether you're going to be in the ARC, Average Revenue Program, or the PLC, Price Loss Coverage. So go by on your FSA and get updated. You have to do the updates. You retain your current yields or update 2008 to 2012. If you do not go by, they'll use the present base on that farm. You can substitute 75% of the Simple County average yield per planted acre if you don't have your own numbers. The owner makes the decision on the update. The farmer certifies it at the county office, and base options means that you retain your current base acres or reallocate your base acres for the coming Farm Bill.
As beef and dairy producers, we are committed to producing the safest, highest quality food for folks here in the U.S. and around the world. This is Baxter Black, here to remind you that your beef quality assurance program plays a big role in leading the way to identifying the best practices, like cattle handling techniques, to produce safe, wholesome beef from pasture to plate. So learn more by visiting bqa.org. Paid for by the Beef Checkoff.
Can we bring it back, Doctor?
Yes, but we have to keep it covered, Igor.
Understood, Doctor.
And be sure to keep living roots in it throughout the year with diverse plants and rotations. And remember, do not disturb it.
Are you mad, Doctor?
No, just a little upset. I don't like to see soil treated like dirt.
Learn more about the basics and benefits of soil health. Contact your local USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service office today.
I'm Tyron Spearman for Southeast AgNet.
You can have work done on your vehicle anywhere, but why would you? Maybe they correctly determine the problem and suggest the proper service. There's a chance they won't. Eliminate that chance by bringing your vehicle to Ford Lincoln of Ocala or Village Ford of Bellevue. The professionally trained, factory-certified team understands the service requirements and maintenance needs of your vehicle, and when the unexpected repair comes your way, you can be assured the work will be done correctly, quickly, and cost-effectively. Look, you've invested a lot of your hard-earned money in your transportation to deliver performance, reliability, and safety. So doesn't it just makes sense to trust the professional team at Ford Lincoln of Ocala and Village Ford of Bellevue to ensure you many miles of worry-free driving and peace of mind knowing the service was done correctly. So the choice is yours. Take the hard-earned investment to whoever for service or a factory-trained certified technician at Ford Lincoln of Ocala or Village Ford of Bellevue. To schedule your next completely satisfied service for your vehicle, contact those who know it best. Village Ford of Bellevue or Ford Lincoln of Ocala, your family of Ford dealerships where we've got what it takes. You can have work done on your vehicle anywhere, but why would you? Maybe they correctly determine the problem and suggest the proper service. There's a chance they won't. Eliminate that chance by bringing your vehicle to Ford Lincoln of Ocala or Village Ford of Bellevue. The professionally trained, factory-certified team understands the service requirements and maintenance needs of your vehicle, and when the unexpected repair comes your way, you can be assured the work will be done correctly, quickly, and cost-effectively. Look, you've invested a lot of your hard-earned money in your transportation to deliver performance, reliability, and